Are you unable to concentrate on the tasks at hand? Do you need help focusing more or leveling up your game? Here's a tip. Try Cognizin Citicoline, clinically studied to support mental energy, focus, memory, and attention. Cognizin supports brain health and supplies the brain with the energy it needs to stay sharp. Cognizin is a leading nootropic, featured in over 200 products. This podcast is powered by Cognizin. Visit Cognizin.com to learn more and find a product to help you fuel your day. Ready to achieve great heights? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Power Your Performance, the podcast where we dive deep with leaders in the gaming world and beyond and learn the techniques they use to power their lives. I am your host, Gary Kleinman. Excited to have Trevor May with us on Power Your Performance. Trevor is an esteemed pitcher for my favorite New York Mets. Having been there now for, you just finished your first season, and going to start your second, and a gamer, creator, streamer. And if there's anybody that sits at the intersection of health, wellness, and nutrition, and sport and gaming, it's you. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm great. It's great. Good to see you.
Yeah.
So tell me, you started baseball first or gaming first? Which and we go back to your childhood, or was it Little League and gaming? Was it gaming and then Little League?
They might have happened at the exact same time. I was 5, my first year of T-ball, and that's about the same time my brother, who was 11, 12-ish at the time, we got our Super Nintendo. So I was 6. I remember being 6 years old with our Super Nintendo. So it might have been slightly behind baseball for Christmas. But my first ever game was Donkey Kong, and his was, what did he get? I think he got one of the Mario games, and then a couple years later we got the 64. We always had tandem gifts. We were close enough in age, and he got Killer Instinct, which was the big Mortal Kombat competitor, and I got Donkey Kong then too. Donkey Kong Country. So I was big into Donkey Kong evidently. I haven't played it since, but I think baseball wins by just a little bit, but they've been parallel pretty much my whole life.
What was the first game you beat him at, or vice versa?
I don't remember ever beating him at Killer Instinct. Beat him in a game. I think Halo might have been the first time that I was consistently be able to beat him. We played NFL Blitz a little bit. I think I got him a couple times, but he beat me pretty handily a lot. I did not handle losing well. That was very, very competitive. I always call it being competitive, but I also just don't like to not be happy. So I was one of those. I was the kid who was would rather cheat than lose.
It's so funny you said that, because just did an interview with Marianne Engel, who is a sports psychologist, and the two things she said was some people hate to lose, and some people that do hate to lose might cheat. So you just proved her right, Trevor.
Yeah,
quite quickly.
I'd rather turn off the game. I was that guy.
Walk out,
press reset.
Well, interesting from a health, wellness, nutrition standpoint. Did you ever put that conflict under control? Did you ever did it ever mellow out? And if so, what helped you do that?
Yeah, it mellowed out a little bit, but honestly, even to this day, I'm slow to play anyone in a game one-on-one.
Oh,
right. I would much rather do co-op 2-on-2 or play team games, because it's just I was always, as the reason I never got really into golf or tennis, because it's all on you. And the baseball, I like being a cog in the machine, and I like the teamwork part of things, but I also liked everything not always being your fault, I guess, when I was young. So, and honestly, I still have a unique relationship with losing, or failing, maybe not losing, because I've come to the conclusion now, being a major leaguer for as long as I have been, that you just only have so much control over a win or a loss. Right. You just never want it to be your fault.
Right. Because I was going to say, obviously, you're sitting on the mound and stuff happens, whether it's an error behind you or you don't hit your spot or whatever it is. That'd be hard, if you're that competitive with yourself. To deal with that. So and to leave it on the mound, right? You get in the dugout and get in the locker room, you go home. Do you really forget about it?
Yeah, no, I don't, sir. I don't forget about it. I'm gonna be honest. I just don't. I think that's complete. I mean, I think some guys, no one fully forgets. Right. Some guys just are able to kind of move on, or like be distracted, or move on to something else, like focus on what they're doing in front of them a little bit easier than others. But I think that if they do go back to thinking about it, they'll still be like, it'll still get that response. It's just that ability to like refocus on something else. I think that is the difference. I don't think no one ever forgets. This whole short memory thing, I love when people say it, because I'm always like, it's not really a thing. It's a misnomer a little bit. But I do understand the idea of like not letting it affect the next thing as much, like minimizing that. That is important. That's the important part. But yeah, I have a very strong emotional connection to my play. I do. I really do.
I certainly, from a professional baseball player, professional athlete at the level that you've obviously achieved for quite some time, you got to have that fire. You got to have that edge and that anger, because it motivates you every time you go out. So you wouldn't want to lose it completely. I guess it's more about, do you go to meditation? Do you go to other kinds of modalities to calm yourself down and then not let it psychologically affect you in a negative manner?
I have spent a lot of time with meditation. I actually just had this conversation really in depth today about handling a lot of the like this past season, for example, was a lot more external noise. There's a lot more external noise in the New York market, especially with the Mets and their history recently, and a lot of good players. You see, just generally the feeling is maybe underperforming a few years in a row. Right. And high expectations not really being met, and coming kind of into that situation kind of in the middle.
You went to new ownership.
Yeah, lots of fluidity.
And a lot of stories about the new owner and, his embattlement. And you're in a major media scrutiny market between Yankees, Mets, Giants, Jets.
There's a lot. You're dealing with some people maybe that are closer to paparazzi and tabloids than sports news outlets at times. They're more focused on the figuring out why the clubhouse is a mess than the actual game. A lot of stuff, like you're kind of just wading through a lot of like, we gotta learn to like fend off stuff that you're like, that's just stupid. Let's talk about other things. And that's a skill that you have to learn. You can really only learn here. And I wouldn't even put LA in the same way, even though it's a huge market.
New York's a fishbowl.
New York's definitely, Chicago has its times, but like New York's the even Boston's similar, but like the Northeast is a different beast. So,
and especially New York, because you do have that underlying Yankee-Met rivalry that spills out into everything. You don't really get that in the Angels and the Dodgers, right?
That's very, very true. They're not like making fun of each other the whole time too. Like,
no, they're not.
Yankees fans have no real skin in the game for Mets, but they'll just make fun of you, even though because you're on the team, even though they don't really care.
Yeah, they don't care.
You have those people too,
and it's
in your own fan base,
and it's 24 square miles. Where L.A. the Dodger base is way up north, way south. So having spent a lot of time in New York and living there, it's. But did you think about that before you said, I'm going to take this shot with the Mets? I'm going into this fishbowl. Was it as cognizant as it turned out to be, do you think?
It was just, so I knew it was going to be that much. Like the amount was not surprising. It was the dynamic and learning who those, like there's just certain people where you're like, I'm not going to talk to that person as much as other people. Like I don't trust that person as much as I trust, that isn't a thing really in Minnesota. There's just not as many people. Yeah. But just generally they're just they're nice. A little bit more laid back.
Well, they're a lot nicer.
They're just
as a citizen.
Naturally, they would rather like, even if they have strong feelings and stuff, they usually give you a little bit. They're like, you know what, I'm upset, but
it's okay.
Is it that big of a deal at the end of the day? But
New York?
Live and die. It's a little more live and die in New York. There's more passion. They'll tell you that first. Everyone will say that, more passion. And I just need everyone to know that this isn't a negative thing at all. It's just different, and you have to navigate it differently, or it can be just too much. Like it's just exhausting. It could be exhausting at a time. If you really want to be a great player, you have to find a way. If you want to succeed in the market, you have to find a way to kind of either just remove yourself from a lot of the noise or mute it.
Yeah. And were some of the teammates helpful in the transition that had been there for a while, or did they kind of say
a little bit?
You're on your own, dude. You figure out how you're going to make it.
It's a lot of young guys that don't have a lot of experience, anyways.
Right?
Like they do, and so they're still trying to navigate how to do that too. They've been part of it. So like we had these conversations a lot. Like, should we all delete our Twitters together? Should we? Like things like that. Something I'm never going to do. I'm very active. I really value my ability to have open and honest conversations with strangers about things and give context for things. I think it's important and that it's valuable to do that, even if it's infuriating at times. I just feel like it's something I like to do and I need to do it. So that wasn't going to go anywhere. And so we've actually talked a lot about how do you navigate on a day-to-day basis, like calming yourself down, your nervous system down, because some games, like for example, the September 11th game last year was huge, massive 20 years against the Yankees at home. We're in a pennant. We're trying to win the division too. And we're trying to come back here. And it's like all this stuff. And I'm just like, don't blow that game. And I did. I blew that game. It came to a head. I was like, I'm going in the exact situation that I was dreading. And you got to find a way to like. And
maybe that's why it happened that way, right? I mean, your fear actually you self-realized your own fear.
Exactly. And once you're in the situation that you've been dreading the whole time, the chances that you're able to lock in and forget about it are zero.
Yeah,
especially in that situation.
Were you sitting in the pen going, don't call on me. I'm not.
Honestly, in the sixth inning, I saw the scores. I'm like, no, I'm going in. I've had 2 days off too, 100%. There's no way. I knew the whole time. I knew it was coming. That helped a little bit. And then something, Aaron Judge, of all people, of course. Honestly, if someone's going to do it, please be him.
Yep.
Right, you don't want it to be the pitcher on the other team or something, or like the guy they just called up. If you're going to give it up to their best player.
Yep.
And he hit a pitch that he'll never hit it probably out again. That same pitch probably never hit it out. It was crazy. It should have been a ball. I shouldn't have swung on it, and he took me deep on it. So it's always tipped in the cap. It's always this stuff. But like.
So do you say anything to him as he's rounding the base? Or you go, no, you don't want to. You're not even going to look at him and give him that acknowledgement.
At that point, I was just like,
"Oh man!"
I was more in like that thing I was worried about just happened. Like it was not relief. It was just like, what the hell? Why?
So is that what you're thinking as you're trotting out to the mound? I mean, because we'll talk about this as you game and you stream and what have you. Are some of those thoughts the same? So you're running out to the mound. You're going, I've been thinking about it. It's been sitting in my head for a day or two, and here I am. It's the 11th of September. And I want to pitch, but this is the thought process I have in my head.
It was one of those days. I was so emotionally keyed up that there was no way I wasn't going to be able to think along those lines. And I have that moment once or twice a year, like just where whatever it is, one day you're just super for whatever reason. Yep. And sometimes you're just like in your head, you're like, man, it would be really nice to get skipped over today. Some days you just need to, maybe we get someone who's just, for whatever reason, I'm having one of those days where I cannot calm myself down. It's something that I naturally have. I'm very, I don't want to say high strung. Anxiety has been something in my life that has been a constant. Working hard on that, always a work in progress. But even the meditation stuff, I did that for a very long time. It helped me manage ADD. I was undiagnosed until I was 29.
Wow.
And then I got medication, which went a really long way. But it wasn't a stimulant medication. It was basic. It was called Strattera. It's a different type of situation. That helps for about a year or two. And then it just nothing. It came back, got worse. And then this offseason, I actually got prescribed to stimulant medication. So that going in the last 3 months or so I've noticed a big change in my ability. Like my days were just really inconsistent, and that would translate into the baseball field. Like I just said, I have a day I wake up groggy. It feels like I didn't sleep well, even if I did. And I'm like, what's going on? It's just, I'm very emotionally struggling. And then my ADD is at 10. So managing that was what I used meditation before. That got me to the major leagues. I started doing that in 2012.
To struggle with both of those, anxiety and ADD, and get to the level that you're at professionally is remarkable, right? I mean that's just remarkable, and to overcome, which we'll get into, the major surgery you had. I mean, how does having your elbow reconstructed essentially fit into all that? You've got ADD, you've got anxiety, you've got to be thinking, can I throw as fast as I did before? Is it really going to be successful? I mean, that had to be remarkably difficult as you were not only having the surgery, but your rehab.
Yeah. That's a very big, that question mark around, am I going to be as good as it was before? Thank God we've gotten so far with the surgery and like the rehab programs. And Dr. Meister down in Dallas, who did my surgery, is pretty much the cream of the crop these days with his program, even though it's a little slower than most. He's got a really good track record. So that was actually, those fears were taken care of pretty early in the process. What really helped me though was knowing that I wasn't going to be in a major league game in that season. It was not going to happen. Right. So like my timing worked out well in that case. When I blew out my elbow, I went and got an MRI and they're like, it's gone. Like most people have like partial tears, a vertical tear along the tendon. So it's like splitting, not coming apart. So you can rehab that stuff. There was no gray area for me. They're like, just get surgery. It'll be straightforward.
That's actually good, because if you would have rehabbed and then had to have surgery.
Oh yeah.
And that would mess with your mind.
You don't want to dance around.
Yeah, you don't want to. You just go in and do that. But were you able to even game as you were rehabbing, or did you lose both of the things that you love?
So I'm very fortunate that a lot of people think this is the other way, but controllers are actually not great when you're coming off. Okay. But a mouse isn't, like, because I'm moving from the shoulder.
Right.
So I've always been kind of an arm low sensitivity guy. So actually, I asked about 3 weeks in, I was like, can I take the wrist brace off at this point? As we started to unlock it and I was starting to move it a little bit, he's like, hey, if it doesn't hurt, man. He goes, if you get sore and stuff, please. But he goes, I trust you. You're smart. Just don't. And I was like, oh, this is easy. And the more I did it, the better it felt. And it's crazy. He's like, anything that works your forearm out a little bit, even if it's just tiny bit, you're just moving really lightly back and forth, it's probably good. Just don't overdo it. Don't hurt yourself. And he goes, you'll be able to tell if you hurt yourself. Trust me. And it's crazy. 3 weeks after that, when I got the brace off, or when we went all the way locked, and then what you do is you come out and you haven't straightened your arm in 6 weeks. So then they go, all right, go. Like, we're not gonna push you, let go. And usually you're like, and I went,
really? Wow.
Oh, I'm like,
really?
Huh. I was like, yeah, maybe move all that movement I've been doing. There was a couple nights in the middle of the night I woke up because there's like a little lock and I bumped it or something and unlocked. So I wake up in the middle of the night and I'd be like this, like, oh God, lock it back in. Because you're trying to follow the program, but usually it's like so far in the being cautious area that it's not really necessary. So that was all good. I got very lucky. I heal very well. Usually I've always had my whole life scrapes and.
But do you take anything on a general supplement basis, either athletically for game? I mean, you're not doing like vitamin D and B.
I do supplement with that stuff, but that's been last 5 years or so. So I supplement with D. I take Mariva for joints. I take and inflammation. I do athletic greens and something called Resync, which is the beet powder nitrous recovery drink. So I do a lot of that stuff. I supplement a lot of the things with that multivitamin, but nothing too like, I'm not like one of those people who's taking a huge bag of pills every day just to replace everything I lost the day before.
And you're not dry scooping whey protein and.
Yeah, I'm not. No. I supplement with whey protein. Honestly, a lot of people are like, oh, you protein for the recovery. I'm like, that's an added benefit. Honestly, I just like convenience and it's a nice little snack.
Yeah.
Like I literally had a muscle mic earlier. I did go work out today, so that's an added benefit, but also it's going to get me to lunch. So that's the main reason I do it, because I can drink it. I don't have to go anywhere or do anything. I can
right. It's simple. It's simple delivery system. So now do you just never think about the elbow? I mean, you just go out and there's no hesitation. You just go out and throw and you hit what you hit and you do it.
It's one of those things like, I don't know. I think maybe we just said, hey, someone said once, he goes, if it goes, it goes. Like I have to go. I've bought into this thing that I'm a pitcher. This is something that happens to pitchers. And I'm not going to like take the foot on the gas, make myself not as good as I can be just because I'm afraid of that happening again. And if it does, frankly, at this point, I've gotten so much out of my elbow. If it went again, I take that as a sign for the most part, probably at this point. And I'd be okay with that because I've gotten a lot. I'm at a point now in my career going on my ninth year in the major leagues overall, 8th year of service time, that like, I've had a
it's a good run and you're still doing a good run. Yeah.
And I'm at this point, I'm like, I'm not saying borrowed time, but like, it's all house money at this point. Like, let's have a good time. Let's enjoy doing this as long as we can. Cause as many guys approach their mid 30s in baseball, that's when you hit that cliff. You're just falling into my body hurts oblivion. So until that happens, I'm going to keep having fun. But the big thing that actually got through me the surgery mostly, though, was the idea that I now have a bunch of time to do something that I wouldn't have been able to do had I been playing baseball. And what is that? I just started that's when I built the stream.
Yeah, so tell me about that. So you obviously work out and you prepare for the season, you stretch and you lift and you do all those things under the auspices, obviously, of the team because of the responsibility and the contracts and everything else. Do you also do something similar for your streaming that you're prepared for? Do you stretch? Do you work on your back? Do you do massage? Is there any regimen that you look at from a health perspective to prepare for streaming?
Back then, no, because I was doing so much of the other stuff. It kind of just like translated. I was at the field for 3-4 hours every day doing rehab and stretching and
you didn't need to do that, right?
I didn't need to. In the off season, when I'm like taking time off, it's past a certain point, like taking 3-4 weeks off where I'm like, go be a couch potato and sit in your chair. I bought a very nice chair because I spent a lot of time in my Herman Miller. That's one of the best chairs I've ever had. Great ergonomic chair. So that's helped a lot. Do have a standing desk. I do pop it up every once in a while. Those have helped as well. But honestly, it's just don't be stagnant for a lot of period of time. So I actually did a 16-hour stream the other day. We did some charity stuff for Ukraine. And I also, there was a new big Minecraft project that I was invited to, and I wanted to go start it with a bang and be like the one that's on the longest. And I was
that competitive came out.
Yeah. I wanted to be the best. Not only that, last of these same people, I played with them a year ago, almost just over a year ago now, and I was really bad. Like no clue what I was doing. And I played a lot in the last year. I've been really enjoying this. And now it's funny. Some of the people that were with me have seen what I'm doing. They're like, dude, back then you were just an easy kill, and now I'm afraid you're going to kill me. So I was like, mission accomplished. Thank you for saying that. You have no idea how much that means to me.
Oh, that's great.
But in terms of for that, so one of our strategies was every 2 hours we had a little bit of a timer set, and it was give ourselves 3 to 5 minutes. I'm going to go grab a snack, or I'm going to use this as a bathroom break. And then we're going to stand. I did some stretching in front of the screen. We did one thing of a minute of meditation, just like moving the point of light up and down your body for a minute. And I just like basically turned my mic off, camera off, put on a little relaxing music, and did 90 seconds of it, and just like centered, just so, because as it was getting later, I was getting more frustrated easily because I was tired. But yeah, I'm trying to do that more. I think I could do a much better job, but it's crazy. Because I've been really into Minecraft recently, a lot of these people who have been doing this for 10 years, they're now late 30s, even in their early 40s. Right. And because it's a game that if you let it, you could just go. There's no points to jump off if you don't make them. And so there's a couple guys that I'm taking a little bit of what they do when they play, and one has every hour on the hour, it's time to stand up, and we all drink our water, and then they like stop what they're doing, go full screen, and they make the stream do it with them. They're like, we're taking a break, and they take a break every hour, and it's on purposeful every time. And the older you get, the more you need it. And if the average age of a gamer is 37, then that, it's going to happen. I mean, you're going to need. And it's a major issue in gaming. People, like, especially the kids that are like 21 who are trying to grow their streams, or they just got some experience or just got some love, and people are starting to come in. They want to play for 15, 16, 17 hours every day.
Every day. And they're playing not in your Herman Miller chair. They're playing in all these other, like a
wood chair from the
a wood chair, or an off the rack chair from an office supply company. I won't mention names because I won't mention names, that are not ergonomically sound. And then if you look at the hardware, it's really, keyboards and what have you are not great for your wrist. And
people are turning and they're doing all this other stuff.
And they're thinking, from a health and wellness company perspective that we look at a lot of the younger gamers are invincible. As I'm sure when you were younger, you thought, oh, I'm invincible, right? My wrist may hurt, but I'm not putting anything on it, right? Yeah. I'm not sleeping, but I'm not going to help go to sleep, even if it's a natural supplement. Or you're not focusing, right? People are knocking out Red Bulls and Monsters and what have you. But as you get older, and the guys that you're referring to, it's critically important, especially if you've got other things to do when you're not streaming. and playing, you just can't sit at a chair and be stretched and be limber and do all the things you otherwise want to do. So,
Exactly.
do you talk about that with the people that that follow you in your stream? Is hey, what are you doing to stay limber? That it's great to play with you guys, but do you feel a responsibility or a desire, if not a responsibility, to just notate the fact that hey, you got to be healthy, you got to don't drink Red Bulls, maybe take some vitamin D or whatever that supplementation is.
I mean, I think that I definitely have a unique approach to these things too, because I inherently have to stay in a certain shape or have to be intimately aware of how my body feels at all times, because I need to be ready to pitch every day. So even being a reliever, not just a baseball player, just being a reliever, I have to be ready every day. So it's programmed into me to check in constantly. And so maybe I take that for granted, just like it's a natural way that I am, and I'm able to make those decisions on the fly. But people that don't have the motivation, it's just for their general health or long-term health, but they're not having to go compete. The motivation isn't as big as it is for me. So talking about it, I think I can get better at it. I have done it a good amount, and I talk a lot about the mental side too. The mental side has been a big part of me, the toll that it takes when you don't go and you're only worried about playing the game all of the time and getting better all the time. That it's important to take, when you're a creative person or you're trying to come up with ways to make funny content or something, getting away from it is actually your best way to do that. Those things are things I've talked about a lot, but I think that as I move forward and as baseball becomes at some point in the not so distant future, I'm not going to be a player. I mean, I'm not going to say tomorrow, but it's not going to be 10 years from now. That I will then have to pass on a lot of the baseball information I had to younger kids about taking care of themselves. And I think that I'm going to continue doing the gaming thing, and it's going to be really important that I do it there too, because I just have a lot to offer there, a lot of value that I've learned over the years.
You do, and you come from a unique perspective, as you just referenced, from having professional athletes. And one of the things that gamers is that they can be successful without having your skill set, so to speak, and your muscular definition and just the inherent skills to be a professional athlete. Not everybody can do that, but you can work on gaming skills a little bit easier and become proficient. So to have your background educationally and as a role model is critically important. I mean, it's and I know you take that seriously. The more you do it, the better it is, probably. More and more people want that. Do you also find that your teammates game a lot? I mean, is there as much gaming in the clubhouse and on the road that everybody says, you got all this downtime, everybody's gaming? There's a good amount of guys, for sure. A lot of guys bring their consoles with them in their little cases. I'd say there's probably 5 to 8 on every team that brings about. Some have bigger groups than others. I know I've heard a lot of stories about the Angels being because my Trout's a big gamer, and he's very open with just getting guys equipment to play stuff with him. So there's been times where he bought everyone laptops, and he's an awesome. From what I've heard, playing with Mike Trout is awesome. So, but if there's a new game that comes out that he really likes, he's like, man, I wish some more people would play. He'll buy the guys who oh, I don't have an Xbox. You're like, well, here's one. Now you have to play with me. So yeah, there's a group, and it's becoming more and more. The stigma is getting less and less. It's cooler now because streamers make a lot of money now, and they're I've been in gaming probably 6-7 years, and nobody understood what the hell I was doing. 7 years ago, gaming was a cry for help. Now it's a career. And then if you look at all the ways that gaming is incorporated into business and into medicine and everything else, it's pretty significant. I think the issue happens to be, how do you balance your life in gaming as opposed to the 16, 17 hours instead of studying or whatever that happens to be. And that's like anything else. Where do you strike the balance, right? Do you ever feel that balance is challenged?
Oh, daily, especially with, I'm going to be honest, it's been a year or two since I've been this into a game, to where I could just lose 6-7 hours without even blinking. And, like we said, I'm almost 33 years old. It shouldn't be that easy. When I was in high school, I played World of Warcraft like this. We have a running joke that I played WoW until 1 a.m. the night before our district championship game. We were playing a team. We had 10 run twice. and they beat us. We lost our first game of the year. We were like 19-0 or something. I pitched terribly. And a bunch of scouts were there. And my mom's like, you missed out on $1 million because you played WoW that night. And I'm like, that hurts. But at the same time, it all worked out, thank God. But, and I don't think it was completely true, but she was a little bit like, you know, it was at times I was like spending a lot of time. I still kept my grades up and stuff, but it took a lot out of me in terms of time. And now I'm married and I have my family and making sure we all have time for each other. And then I'm turning it off regularly
we're being told to turn it off.
I don't want to get there. That's the thing. I don't want her to be like, hey, could you not play games tonight? But scheduling has been big. Putting on my calendar, she can see like I'm planning on doing a session. Like on Monday when I did the long one, I said, hey, on Monday I'm going to do this. This is launching this time. I think it's a good way to knock these 3 things out, raise the money for charity. We were planning on doing that anyways. I'm going to do it all at once, but just know that like you might need to bring me a meal that day. Just so you know. And she's like, you know what? I'm okay. I know.
I'm okay.
This isn't like it was supposed to be 6 hours and it turned into 11. That's when you get into trouble.
Yeah.
Scheduling has been.
And
big.
You were supposed to go out for dinner with her someplace with other people, right?
I would never miss that. That's one thing. That's also on the schedule. So the scheduling has been big. And I think I would highly recommend any kid, any guy out there who wants to really maximize how good you are, how fresh and how good high quality streams are, find that whatever that limit is, and then just give yourself a couple gimmies. This is something that actually Ben Lupo, Dr. Lupo, who's on YouTube, big streamer, he I've learned from him and his family is he gets like a weekly mulligan to where he can say, I'm really into this game. Can I play for 2, 3, 4 hours long? Can I just extend this into the evening and you guys go to bed? You put Charlie, his son, to bed and you just handle it that night. Just give me one and I'll tell you when you come in. And she's like, okay, yeah, you get one. But like every other time you got to stay within your limits for your work because we're setting work-life balance. And he's done a great job with it. It works really well for him. So we actually have done something similar to where as long as I'm saying, hey, I'm going to go do this thing,
right?
Then we're good.
So, and we're going to run out of time soon. One suggestion you have for your fans that follow you and play with you from a health, wellness, and perspective, what's your suggestion to them?
Ooh. If you content creation or not, I think retouching on that thing I just said, having kind of a schedule or just like having an idea of when would be a good time for you to get off, even if it's in a few hours, and blocking out that time makes it a lot more enjoyable. And honestly, it makes when you have like a goal of something you're trying to accomplish in a game, even if it's just relax for a bit, makes it just feel much more fulfilling in my opinion. So I would say definitely just try to give yourself some sort of time frame. And if you can, if it's possible, because you really love gaming, get it scheduled. And 2, be purposeful with your breaks. So stand up, move around. If you have to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. And that will also make your gaming experience even more fun. As someone with ADD who gets fixated and I get really locked into a game and I'm super passionate about things, I just don't want to stand up. Yep. Ongoing problem. One good little tip I'll give, phone. Set your phone to go off. Because one thing that is more powerful than that, the thing you want to sit there is when your phone goes off, your natural thing is I have to take care of it.
Yeah,
I have to get to it. That will override everything. So your phone alarm, the one that wakes you up in the morning, will be your strongest motivator for getting up and taking a break.
Hey, Trevor, I love the time spent. When you're down playing the Angels, I'll come see you. Keep gaming, and we'll follow up soon.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, be well, man. Good to see you.
Thanks for listening. This podcast is part of the MAP Esports Podcast Network and produced by Innovation Media Enterprises. Please be sure to leave us a review and follow us on your favorite podcast player.